What's up, everybody? Thanks so much for joining today. I'm very excited about today's topic because we're going to talk about the drop that happened today on Palm NFT, and we're going to talk about the future drops that are happening and our strategies. I'm here with two amazing guests. Prez, what's up, buddy?
What's up? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And UpUp Crypto.
What's up?
Yeah, what's up, Jason?
Do it.
Yeah, so today we saw the first drop that happened for the common. It was Future State Wonder Woman #1, and as of right now, it's doing pretty well. It's doing pretty well, and I think this is a lot of people are going to understand after this how this process works, and especially after next week when the uncommon drops. But before we dive into all this, I have a couple announcements to make. We have a giveaway happening right now that ends today, and you have a chance to win this Gem Mint 10 Infinity Gauntlet card, Marvel card. Big shout to our collaborator on the giveaway, Metaverse Life. And this is actually the card in my hand right now. There it is. So a winner's going to take that home and add that to their collection. I'm very excited for whoever wins this one. So make sure to go on our Twitter page and get involved in the giveaway. It's a really cool card. Really nice card. Also, we reached 150 how to sell videos. I couldn't believe it. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Yeah, that was crazy. I uploaded it. I was like, how many do we have on our stream right now? And I looked at it, 152 now, 153. Like, man, that is wild. That's crazy. So big shout to Kevin Spencer, co-host of the podcast. Very excited that we hit this mark. Also, this is really crazy. I wanted to make sure everyone out there knows this. So right now, there's Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering cards that are being sold. And there's been a bounty on the one of one ring card. There's a one of one. Dave and Adams is a big collector sports shop, and they sell cards. And they put a bounty out for that for $1 million. And then there's a Spanish gaming store in Spain. Gremio de Dragones. I am terrible with Spanish. Sorry. I apologize to all our fellow Spanish friends out there. But they offered a €2 million bounty, which is about $2.15 million on this card. And they also are apparently going to give travel accommodations and put you up and, show you a good time. Wine and dine you if you decide to go with them. So that's an incredible opportunity there. So what's up, everybody? Thanks so much for joining. Choco Bar, what's up? Rahil, thanks for coming. Thanks for joining. Joe, what's up, buddy? What's up? Gary, what's up? What's going on? Congratulations on hitting that uncommon. That's awesome. That's awesome. Low numbers. That's amazing. But yeah, this is really cool. Really cool. There's a lot of excitement going around right now about this card. And they did a really good job marketing this thing too. They got a lot of the people involved from Lord of the Rings, like Elijah Wood did a really cool video with it. And yeah, very fun stuff. Also, VEVE is dropping the Incredible Hulk #1. Amazing. This is a massive grail. This is top 10 all time for us on the physical list, but also probably the digital side from Marvel specifically. And this comic, man, it's special. It's really special. There's only the highest grade on CGC Census for a blue label is a 9.4. And there's only one. There's never been a public sale, but we estimate this comic would probably sell for over $2.5 million. So this is a massive, massive comic, and definitely get involved in this one. It drops Thursday at 8 a.m. PST on VEVE. So definitely get excited for that. And on top of that, what's best way to celebrate this comic drop is an upcoming giveaway. We're going to give away this awesome looking card. We're going to announce it tomorrow. So everyone's listening right now, you get the heads up, the special heads up for this giveaway that we're going to be dropping tomorrow. So very cool looking card there. Yeah. So today we got the Wonder Woman #1 Future State, and these are the different variants that dropped. Overall, how are the numbers looking, guys? Jason, you did a really good job putting some spreadsheets together that we'll dive into in a little bit. But how are the numbers looking so far?
Well, since I bought the comics, they're looking great for me. They're looking good. They're looking good. The last time I checked, it was like maybe it was around 20%, 20% minted out of the total numbers. My guesstimate is that I'm thinking maybe like 35%, maybe up to 50% mint. Man, people are sleeping. Look, my strategy on this has been get in it, buy it. get a chip, get one of these comics. I think it's just smart. I think that there's, some opportunity there. Look at the covers too. The covers are really cool. The common, awesome. I mean, they're all really cool covers. I actually like the legendary because I love all the quirky stuff, but like the different universes, the individual art covers. One of the things too that I think you have a lot of very short-term thinking when it comes to some of these drops and to some of this stuff. And what my argument to the short-term thinkers, it's not that it's a bad way to think. It's just that when it comes to these projects, you have no idea what these companies are going to do with any of this stuff. Imagine, like we've always talked about, imagine these turn into physical editions based on you owning the digital. How cool would that be? And how desirable would that be? So.
Yeah. And even on the digital side, having the chance to own these only on the blockchain is special too within itself, but having physicals will be really rad. These are the kind of things I think physical collectors will start to understand more, especially when it becomes a lot easier to view these, as the technology catches up, especially because right now it's limited on how you can view these. You can view them on your iPad, which is cool, your iPhone or your desktop, but being able to see these in AR is going to be a massive deal. VEVE's already introduced that. We've seen that and how that looks, and it looks phenomenal. But again, it's limited based on the technology that we have, but over time that'll change. That'll change for sure. Prez, what do you think about the drop today?
Yeah, I mean, I love the common.
It's gorgeous, right?
Yeah, I mean, I scored the mint 100 common. So that was good.
Oh, congrats! That's fantastic.
Thank you. If anyone wants to trade for a mint 69, I will be quite happy to trade you for it. Sorry, it's a bit R-rated, that one. And then I think I scored the epic, and then the fiance scored the legendary and the rare. So we managed to dodge the uncommon. So I might pick it up, the uncommon. But I loved all of these. I think the legendary is a sleeper in a way that, yeah, I don't think we're gonna see some crazy prices on these, just because it looks so weird, like compared to all of them together. But Legacy, who scored one, he just confirmed that the back cover is different than the rest. So it
Oh,
has
interesting.
it's a poodle cover, but that's the only one that's different on the inside than the rest. So
Interesting. Wow.
mm,
Making that one
but
extra special.
yeah, but I think the obvious play for me is the common. It's just, yeah, at the moment.
Yeah, that seems to be the favorite for sure for everybody, from what I've heard at least. But it's really special. I mean, these different variants, they represent different universes in the DC universe. So, looking at the spreadsheet here, this breakdown, over the next 5 different comic drops, the representations of different universes. So what would that be like in that universe? What would this comic be like in that universe? So they really got involved with the creative team and made some special covers with some really talented artists, which I'm happy they announced on the if you notice on the bottom, it says who got involved in it. Some really talented artists, including Joelle Jones, who's one of the most talented artists in my opinion. She's absolutely incredible. She's been involved in the VEVE community for quite some time. She did the digital collectibles of Catwoman, a first appearance of Catwoman, and in that first collection with Catwoman and Batgirl. Very cool artist. She's fantastic. Yeah, she's really, really, really special. But yeah, this is really cool. Very cool. And what's the strategy moving forward? We have some comics coming. The first one already dropped is Wonder Woman. But the next one is a representation, an homage to Superman 1, which is very interesting. How do you think people are going to react to that about crypto?
I think that I think that people, they slept on the initial comic drop, and I really think that people are sleeping a little bit. I think people are seriously sleeping on today's. To the point where the people that are getting into it are going to be happy about it, because there's going to be additional scarcity built in. I think they're good long-term play. I think what's going to happen is I think that you're going to see some of the secondary prices on the original comics, the original Flash comics, dip a little bit and we're seeing that today. And what's going to happen is when the uncommon drops, people are going to see how cool. I think my personal feeling is that when they launch the covers, people are going to get a little bit excited because they're going to be like, "Oh, smack! Those are cool. Those are really cool." So I think that'll give a little bit of lift. I think people are going to sleep, except for when the marketplace starts hitting and they start seeing like what the epic, because you're starting to see, in the uncommon, you're going to see less, and then the rare is going to be less, and obviously epic, etc. But I think what you're going to start seeing is, I don't think people understand like what are the prices going to be like with the epics and the legendaries. The uncommon, when they start going up on the market, you're going to start seeing and realizing like, oops, that scarcity is actually causing the prices to be much more than people I think are expecting. And then what's going to happen is the rare is going to approach drop time, and you're going to start seeing FOMO start kicking in. And then people are going to start realizing, wait a minute, like, look at the rare epics and legendaries, and what is the epic price is going to be like, and then the legendaries are going to just take off.
So it's a crazy thing at the moment where it kind of like it builds up, right? Like, because today is and how they started off on the best foot with like Gal Gadot, right? That was like come on, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no spoilers to anyone who hasn't seen the Flash yet, but yeah, I think there's also a counter argument, and I guess I just wanted to be balanced here. I think we raised this, Sean, the other day. Was a member of our community was raising that there was this variant cover rush over at DC, um, and Marvel, I guess, during the 90s, right? Was it? And how it's starting to look like it's gonna happen here. Um, so that, and they're not a big fan of that, obviously. But on the flip side, for me, there is already enough saturation, everywhere, as it is, and you know, for our small user base right now, um, it's a buyer's market. But you introduce things like overdrive, even for this market, things are gonna get fun, like the burning side of things. But then there's also like, well, we're always not always gonna be in this position, right? So actually, even this thing that you're dropping here right now, it's giving us access to a new experience, you know, and it's the first time ever that we've had to, unlock all of these like gamification almost, right? Like what do we have to do? Everyone's caught out. And this comic will be remembered for that. And look at them; they're pretty as it is, and for a fact you'll be picking them up off the floor like for like really crazy prices. So, um, yeah, that's my take on it. But I do think that right now I'm going for it. I'm going for two of each. We'll see how it goes. That's my plan. Like for each
Yeah,
drop.
definitely. And a big shout to Non Fungible Talking for making this awesome graphic for us and to use. And yeah, make sure to give him a follow on social media and also his YouTube channel. And yeah, to add to your points, I mean, I love that Palm separated the uncommon and the rare by 5 days. They extended it out a little bit so people can understand and process what just happened. Because I do believe that Superman 1 is going to be a hot commodity for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's when people are going to start to like, oh, okay, this is pretty special. I need to get involved. How do I get involved? Oh, I have to buy these comics, to these ones specifically, to have an opportunity to buy the ones that are being dropped in the future. So I think after the Superman 1 drop, that'll be a huge indicator of how things are going to look like moving forward. So if that's the case, there could be a serious opportunity, because right now, Jason, you called that. You said the common right now, people aren't going to understand it. The prices probably won't really reflect what the later values of the other comics are going to drop in are going to be. But there's going to be it's. Jason, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit? Actually, I'll let you speak on that, because this is something that you brought up that I really liked.
Yeah, so initially, so I've done all of the things that Palm and DCNFT have created. I've been in on that experience, and I've been in on that experience is because I don't have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to just be able to go buy the Batcowls that I want. So I have to do it a different way. I've got to figure out how do I build up account credit so that I can go in and buy more Batcowls. Because look, if I'm just being transparent, my ultimate goal are getting more Batcowls, getting as many Batcowls as I can, and buying more Batcowls. No, but I also like the peripheral items. We all want the Grail comics, etc. But like, there's big opportunities there, and so what happens is, and this is the business side of me talking. Somebody a long time ago, really smart businessman, told me, Jason, if you want to be successful in your career, one of the things that you need to do is become an expert on why people do the things that they do. You don't have to understand every little thing about everything, but if you understand why people make the decisions they make, it's going to help you in many, many areas of business, hiring, etc. That's a long conversation. But my point is that I've really taken that into the Web3 space. And so I'm like doing these things thinking like, I know what people are going to do, and it's not the right decision, but I'm going to make the other decision. So for example, when they did the 4 Epic comics, I went and did all those drops. And I knew, based on all the other Web3 projects and crypto and everything else that we're in, there's going to be FOMO associated with that. And people are going to drive the price of those epics up. And I sold, I mean, part of it was luck, but I ended up getting 5 epics. And I sold all those epics for $500, or like 100 to 110-ish each. And so that epic one, and then I got the 4 posters, and then, and we've seen this a lot in VEVE, what that does. And so like, that's my strategy there. And the other thing is people, when they see the open million edition, for some reason, when they say, oh, there's 1 million of these available, people think, wow, that you can mint 1 million. Those are terrible. That's terrible. That's too many.
Yeah.
Well, I knew that people were going to sleep, because it doesn't matter. You could say there's 1 trillion, there's a quadrillion, there's a quintillion, there's a septillion editions. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, supply and demand is the real number. That's going to happen. And so I was like, you know what? Because we talked about this, I was like, hey, 10K, I think it's going to go under 10K. It actually went slightly over, but I was adamant that it was going to be like 7,500, 800. It went a little higher. But even at that number, you're like, okay, that's the number that we're playing. And then, so people aren't going to realize, like, then the real issue of supply and demand starts kicking in, because we have these finite numbers. And so, that's where we talked about the strategy. And on the day that the Flash was dropping, and I'm just going to be fully transparent. I bought $1 commons, and I bought the $1 commons because there's nothing less than $1 common. So I'm taking $1 common to help. I'm basically helping the team out here. Every 1 common I remove takes away 2 potentials that can be minted. And you know what? If I throw it on the market for $1, I lose 10 cents. Whoopity-doo. But I'm taking 2 off. And so that one's kind of a team play there. And then, so the uncommons, I was buying up under $10. So if I saw one under $10, but where the play was for me is I was picking up rares for $7 and $8. Just anytime I saw a $7 or $8 one, buying it. The epics were, the cheapest epic I got was $20, but they were all $23, $22, and $20. I couldn't get a legendary because there was a couple that fell down to 150. Those were gone too fast. And the legendaries have kind of stayed in the 200 plus range. So I have not been able to flip into a legendary yet. And so even today, when we look at what the price of the Flash comics are, I think like the rares are like $15, $16, $17. So I'm like doing fine there. The epics are 50 or 60 in the 50 to 60 range, doing fine there. And so, the play for me is to try to get a few more of those. But honestly, like I think like all the smart folk, I shouldn't say smart. That's a bad thing to say. I think all the folks that have done their due diligence and their homework, the ones who really do your own research, they're already thinking this. They get it. They know. Like if I see a rare for under $10, I'm swiping it. If I see a epic for under 40, I'm swiping it, because it makes sense, because it benefits the group effort. We all benefit because the ones that are in it increases scarcity. And then if it gets too cheap, like, get it, because FOMO is kicking in after Superman comic drops. The people are going to be like, how do I get that? They're going to figure it out. But the other thing that I don't think people realize and think about is like, and me too, man, we all think like, if I see it, or if I'm on Twitter, everybody should be on Twitter. If I say it, everybody should say it. If I think it, everybody should think it. And that's why you have all these arguments. But I think what people don't realize is that most people are not on Twitter all day, every day. They're not in Discord. They're not in Telegram. They are not in any of this stuff. They have no idea what the heck this is. And if you want to know, look at all the people that were like, wait, what? An action comic, Superman variant is coming out on Thursday. Just in Discord today, somebody was asking, how do I get this Wonder Woman comic? I want one. Do I need to have multiple Batcowls? How do I get it? And they totally. Right. And there's a lot of those folks, and that's going to be, you're going to see numbers increase. The number of folks increase over the next 2 weeks trying to get these comics, because they had no idea that they had to get that first group.
Yeah, definitely. And especially after, like we mentioned, the uncommon drops, the Superman 1, people probably get really excited about it. And then there's a 5-day break between the uncommon and the rare. So people will start to understand, and they'll start to you'll likely see a pump in the rare, epic, and legendary after the uncommon drop. And that's something you've talked about too, Jason. Like right now, you even mentioned, earlier, that there's a possibility these might dip after the common, because the prices don't reflect what the value of the later ones could be. Yeah.
And
so you might see a dip.
They totally did, because the rares were like, they were like 20 plus, and now they've down to like 14, 15. And I even said, like, people are going to sleep on the Flash, Fastest Man Alive comic. And then the first comic is, they're not going to be excited about. And they're going to sleep on that. And they're actually, in my estimation, so I had to get that one, because based on that, I was like, okay, people are going to overly sleep on this. And then they're only now I'm like, man, these things are going to only mint at 30, 40, 50%. Which I'm like, okay, I'll take that, even for long. Yeah. So,
but a lot of people are probably stacking things. They can probably mint more than one other comic, so they probably buying like 2 or 3 or 4 legendaries or epics or even rares, and they're just holding on to them. And unfortunately, after the screenshot happens, it's done. It's a done deal. So I think especially after the rare, people will start to realize even more. Oh, okay, it's only one. So it'll be interesting to see how the market was reflected after that. But yeah. I mean, it's the strategy for us. I mean, we're definitely looking to get by a couple of them and flipping some when the pump potentially happens after Superman 1, which we anticipate. And then also there's a 5-day break between the epic and legendary. So it's an additional 5 days for people to process and for that market to mature for the legendary, which is going to be incredibly scarce. And Jason, you put together a really cool spreadsheet of what the current numbers look like. If you want to break this down a little bit.
Yeah. So the first thing, so this was right after all the numbers were out there. And so the two things that I wanted to really kind of focus on were the number of holders, because the number of holders was going to really be important from a strategic perspective, and then how many total mints were minted. And the reason that I wanted to do the number of mints that were minted is because you really need to take a look at like the max mint. And we can't really say what the minimum amount of mints will be, but we definitely know what the maximum number of mints were. And so as you look across today, we're looking at the commons essentially. And so you've got the number of from top to bottom, it's the number of commons to legendary for each issuance. And so then you'll move to the uncommons, which is on Thursday, and then the rares and the epics. And as you see, like I've highlighted the legendaries across the board. So the legendary of the legend, the legendary comic drop. I mean, every one, the common legendary is, I mean, look at those numbers. They're very, very low. And then I highlighted all of the legendaries just across the board. And so I think like when you look at like today's legendaries, people are going to sleep a little bit because, you know, the number of legendaries are a little high. I think that people are going to, the reason I think people are going to sleep on the uncommon legendaries is because I think people are thinking, oh, the uncommon legendary number is kind of high, but they don't, but we've talked about it a million times. Popularity is king. That is going to be so massively popular that I don't think the numbers, I think people are sleeping on the numbers. But if you look, starting at the rares, you're going to mix in the popularity. They were so smart the way they did this drop, because you put the most popular one at the uncommon stage, and all of a sudden then the numbers drop off like crazy, and you're like, whoa. You're gonna see, so people are gonna, oh smack, like the legendary uncommons is going for this. Okay, how much is the rare? At 15, I'm buying it. 6, and all of a sudden it's 20, 25, you know, whatever. But people are gonna start realizing, but look at these numbers, they're tiny. And the other thing is, you know, we've all three of us have listened in to what they're talking about from a roadmap perspective. This is not going anywhere. If you think that any of this stuff is going anywhere, this is not the right space for you. I would recommend going and researching some other things. And I'm more than happy to have conversations directly with folks. If you think that this is going anywhere, I'm sorry, it's not. All this stuff is going to continue, get bigger and bigger. This is the wave of the future. Technology is stopping for no one. So as more and more people start coming into the space, you start really looking back and you're like, is 400 is 400 of these legendaries really too big for 2 million users or 5 million users or 10 million, you know, whatever that number is in the future? And I'm not saying you take that number and you crunch it and you tell me, you tell yourself. And in my estimation, none of these numbers are too big. None of them. That's why I'm like, you know, the strategy for me is just simple. Yes, buy it.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Prez, on these numbers?
Yeah, again, like I've said it before, like we're gonna get into crazy land when it comes to just how many there are and how they position Superman 1. I really, you know, I believe that. My initial thoughts were like, I was like, is this gonna be worth it? Like, you know, I've seen it. They put the meme on the legendary, and that's gonna be on the legendary. And I'm like, why did they do that? But actually, that's like an experiment from DC, in my opinion. Like, okay, Web3 loves a bit of Pepe. They love a bit of like meme culture, right? And then this is our meme Earth, like, you know, like we're gonna put a poodle and like and and then right now it's very funny. Like it's just like what is this? Flip it, get like a Gal Gadot or something. Like, you know, there's plays like that. But then if you think like, well, actually, that's something different, and they're always going for something different. Um, as for your point on what my thoughts are, no, I don't think it's going away anywhere. I think what really impressed me about this whole thing, right? And I'm not going to talk about these numbers, not going to talk about all the 29 amazing covers. Jim Lee himself kept coming onto the Discord and just replying to people on the Discord. I've seen him do it twice. And to me, it's just like,
that's epic.
This man is the president of DC.
President of DC.
The president of DC has taken his time to address some issues, namely Superman 1, right? And then I think what was the other one? Just answer questions about the drop, right? For me, it's like
that's incredible.
Like,
where do you get that kind of
that's a
the interaction?
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, that is crazy. That's the craziest thing about this drop to me, in my opinion. The 2 times he's appeared, like, you know, yeah.
And just remember, guys, that these comics that are dropping are representations of different universes. So, like, what would that comic look like in that universe? And Earth 23 especially is really cool because it's on this Earth, Calvin Ellis is the president. So basically, the president of the United States is Superman. And actually, I own a comic. It's the first appearance of Calvin Ellis, and I actually own that comic. So it's one of my favorite comics. Yeah, it's really cool. Actually, it's a newsstand too, which is really rare, especially for more modern age comics. But this was actually created as a tribute to Barack Obama, which is pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, very cool. But yeah, those numbers are so small. I mean, the legendary. Let's say like the legendary of the legendary. So the legendary of Fastest Man Alive #1, that drops, and that's for Batman 608. And there's only right now potentially 48. Is that correct? Does that include 2 mints or minting 2?
Yeah, all
it
these
does
numbers include 2 mints.
Wow. So 48 max.
Yeah.
48 max. And you're probably going to see about maybe people by then will understand it, but 50% of that is probably a possibility. So you could see less than 25 legendary copies, which is just unreal.
So yeah, so that's the caveat. We're talking that's why I wanted to put the key mint numbers versus the key holders, because 482 legendaries minted, and so we're talking about 5% times 2 or 10% of the supply, which is the highest possibility for the legendary to mint out. So we're saying 48, right? But imagine if you had a lot of liquidity and you're like, you know what? If the legendaries now, if the flash legendaries are under a certain dollar amount, I'm taking those out, because essentially every legendary that they take out of supply, every let me rephrase, every flash Fastest Man Alive that they take out of circulation is taking away 2 possibilities of minting it on as a final. So if I had the liquidity, it's exactly what I would do. Exactly. And then or even in the epic realm, or it doesn't even have to be, it could be, it could be the uncommon or the common, whatever, the legendary one. So, but that does not take into effect folks that have, multiples in their wallet or that own multiples. So could be, that's the max. 48's the max.
Yeah, and that's the key, right? And I love, Jason, that you've emphasized this is an opportunity to potentially flip your way up to get another Batcowl or even another comic that you're looking to purchase. There is definitely opportunity here. Again, this is speculative, nothing's for sure, but based on what we've seen over the past 1.5 to 2 years, and the knowledge that we've gained from all this, it's very, very likely that this is going to happen. But again, it's very speculative, and you got to do your own research and never overextend yourself. But we're excited about the opportunity here, especially if you're looking to build your way your liquidity up to purchase something else. Another Batcowl, or potentially another legendary comic of a big grail. There's some really cool comics that have dropped on Palm NFT, and there's some really good value at some of these comics. So especially Showcase 4. I'm going to keep bringing that up. Still so very surprised that's sitting around. I haven't seen the latest price, but is it 300?
I've seen. Oh, sorry, you're talking about the
legendary. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sitting at
300.
Right? Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, that's $1 million comic in its highest grade. I mean, in my opinion, it's a massive comic. Barry Allen is the most popular character, one of those popular characters for DC. So yeah, it's a big comic. People love it, and I fully expect that comic to do well long term, and there's some serious opportunity here right now. I'm going to keep saying serious opportunity, but again, none of this is financial advice ever. But a lot of fun, guys. This is really, really fun. Congratulations. That's awesome, man. Yeah, very cool.
That's awesome. That's super awesome. I really like the legendary cover. Like I said, I like the quirky. The quirky is cool. Quirky. The more quirky, that's super awesome.
Oh, this is cool. It was also the first drop they're involved in. Congratulations. That's fantastic. That's very cool. That's cool. What a fun opportunity to get involved in something like this, and it's your first time. And this is it's a fun concept. It's a fun way to strategize and learn about the market trends, and just being a fan of DC. There's so many different ways you can approach this as a fan or a potential investor. And yeah, it's just a really good time. And again, big shout out to the Palm NFT team and also DC for putting this together, because this is a blast. This is a really really fun time to get involved in the space, and it's really cool too because like a year from now, 2 years from now, looking back at this, man, it's just to say that we were a part of this. I think this is potentially an historic event for sure. Yeah, and by the way, love your background, Prez. Those are all your Batcowls?
That's right. Yeah, I made a little thing about it. I thought I was fixing it like 20 minutes before, 30 minutes before. I need to
Yeah.
get out
Oh
the way.
my goodness. Oh my goodness. I pull the chat out. Look at that.
I don't have that kind of
My
liquidity.
my goodness. Here, I'll pull that up. Wow. That is epic. Look
Let
at
me
that.
just get out the way, shall I?
That
Let me
is-
just get out the way.
Tuck from the side. Oh my goodness.
That's
Buddy.
That's
Those are incredible.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite? Well, that's easy, but let's give me your top 5 then. Let's go.
I think that the top left corner to the right, it's dark on top, but it's got a little bit of shade in the middle. That's really cool.
Put your
It
mouse
really
over
it highlights the eyes. Yeah, that's really cool. I like the bottom one too. The bottom left to the right, the black and gray. That's really awesome too. Man, they're all great.
they are.
I did win a competition and for the force field one as well. I think top left. Yeah, can I get back? Do you want to interview me now?
You come back now. The king of cows. Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Don't know about that.
So checking mint numbers. So there's a great website called dc3.com. Is that right? dc3.com. Is that right, Prez?
Yes, so dc3.wiki.com. So if you go there, it actually has, so literally it's dc3.wiki. That's it. And you go to, I think, mint numbers, and you could check it there. And actually on the live drop, you could put your wallet address. It gives you instructions, and then you could see the mint. And actually, guys, if you don't know, with a Batcowl, well, not for this drop, but usually you get early access, meaning you mint in order. So if you are a fan of those things, mint numbers, then yeah, the quicker you go, that's why the website's always blocked to begin with. But yeah.
Yeah, here's the website, and it gives you what's really cool. It also shows the most previous sales. I know right now it's a bit limited on tracking past sales, but over time that'll change, I presume.
Well, actually, if you go up, Sean, it tracks 14-day sale now. So if you go marketplace data,
Fantastic.
we go.
Oh yes, this is new.
Yeah,
Wow.
this is new. So
That's
now
great.
you can go up to 14.
And then you pick.
You can actually pick the drop as well.
There. Let's pick 14 days. So this is for fastest man alive, number 1. Yep, those scale numbers are going up. But yeah, to your point, you saw a little bit of a pump, and then it plateaued a little bit, maybe even dipped a little bit, like Jason predicted. And after the uncommon, that's going to be the big indicator. That's cool. Yeah, there's those dips. That's awesome.
So I wanted to actually shout him out, Ryan. Thank you for doing this. I don't know, for your first Patreon, you can get a bit more, and I think he's just missing some funds to do all-time data sales, because I think there's a big upfront cost for that. So I'm gonna try and fundraise for him, because obviously this is a community thing. But it'd be good to peak the overall numbers, because he said that there was like loads of sales for the Legacy Cal comic and stuff like that. So it's
cool.
fun. It's fun to see unfold, man, because this is it's like a cheat sheet, really, like looking at it,
Yeah. So this is for I don't know what number this saved, but basically you take the comic token ID from the Palm NFT website, you import it in here, copy and paste it, and then it'll get your number. That way you can find out exactly what you have, which is really, really cool.
And as you go to the live drop as well, the section, you can put your wallet number, and you could see like insta reveal, like not wait for it as well.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. So down here you
and
put
your wallet.
Your wallet,
Right
and it'll show like how many, like what rarity is it, and obviously takes away a bit from the suspense. So
yeah.
But yeah, like you see, 1,859 so far only. So it's 24 hours. So we shall see. We shall see. I'm thinking 3,000 guys, maybe.
Yeah. So the interesting
Yeah.
thing with this is, this is the screen here that I watched for the flash. And so what you're going to see is, and you'll see this with, so the analytics folks, the data folks, the folks that buy based on analytics and data, they're going to watch this, and they're going to make a decision tomorrow, within the last hour. So you will see, because it was the same if you look at the last ones that were open, you'll see the last several. You'll see that there's a flurry, and it's not a huge flurry, but you'll see a flurry of. And so I think what happens is you'll see it. You'll probably see this kick up by a couple hundred right at the end, because I think the numbers are going to be low, and just financially it makes sense, because you're like, okay, it's $20. Like, if the numbers are really low, is it worth me putting in? And this is just based on flipping, etc. Is it worth $20 to try to get into a legendary or maybe an epic, etc. The guys who have been doing this a long time, we all know. So for me, I want to be the first one in, because the way that it mints. In order for me to get like the number 1, 2, 3, 0, 10, 20, you got to get in and get the early stuff. That's how you get the low mints. So for me, that's what I want. I make the decision early. I don't really need to look at the numbers from that perspective, because I'm looking at this in the long anyways. So do I want these comics in the long? And what I mean by in the long is, like, do I want these comics like 2 years from now or 3 years from now? Yeah, like, I'm totally fine with throwing $10 into one of these comics. And if it dips down to $2, like, let's see where it goes in 2 or 3 years. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I do have a question. How do you think of the variant so far? How they've spaced it out? What do you think about the legendary decision? That was interesting to me. Like, how do you take that? Like,
well, I think the legendary was representation of that universe, and we're going to see that moving forward with the rest of the comics as well. So, yeah, that's what I think the creative decision was behind it. But yeah, these numbers, man, that's crazy. And I think to your point too, Jason and Prez, like this right now, I'm curious to see after it's minting. So to answer the question for John, where's the end date for Wonder Woman comic? It's 24 hours after the initial drop. So tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. done. And it's going to be like that for every comic moving forward. So
literally the words slept on, right? Literally slept. You woke up.
When that stops, what are those numbers going to be like when the minting stops? Because right now I do think that a lot of people are not buying because they know that there's more coming. So they're probably pretty smart with the market. They understand that there's probably some more that are going to be minted. So they're probably being patient. But once that stops, I'm curious what those numbers are going to be like, knowing there's only 150 SR or legendaries. So it's going to be interesting. But this is a fantastic website for all your resources for Palm NFT in terms of finding out your mint numbers, finding out the past sales with up to 14 days, and also just how many are minted for the entire collection. So this is a great resource to use to understand the market trends of what's going to happen over the next 2 weeks.
What's crazy, Sean, is that people psych themselves out from this. Think about like every comic that has dropped in VEVE. If they said, we're going to drop a comic with 3,000 mints total, how many seconds would it take for that comic to sell out? You wouldn't get it. It would be like instantaneous. But but these have been reversed. Like, we're going to put 1 million of these out, and then people are like, oh, I'm out. They're going to sleep on it. And then it ends up minting a small number. And this one here, like, hey, I do, just in full disclosure, I have 2 of these. Am I here to pump my bags? I mean, who pumps their bags on a $9 comic? I mean, look, dude, if I have to pump my bags on a $9 comic, I need to get like a second job or something like that. So, I'm telling people this because just analyze it from a numbers perspective, and it just makes sense. Like, I think people are sleeping on this.
So to answer Harris's question, yes, it does. And this is an example of Future State Wonder Woman #1. So this is really cool is that it refreshes the data every 15 seconds. So you'll literally the most up-to-date information on this stuff, which is really cool. This is the kind of stuff that we need, especially as an investor, you know, having this up-to-date information instantaneous. And that's another reason why I love digital collectibles so much, because they have this kind of resource to make this accessible. Like go collect.
So exciting. It's so
Yeah.
so exciting. Like, yeah, it adds that
We-
layer.
Yeah, we see you can find physical market trends. It's not as instantaneous though. You know, you'll see like sales on eBay. Sometimes they're not accurate though. You know, there are false sales that are up there too. But digital collectibles, we should be seeing stuff like this, resources like this that give you data instantly. Data is so important to grow and learn as an investor in this space. You know, the more you research, the more you learn, and especially the more data that you have, the more that you learn about market trends, which is why this is so important and why I love this so much. And this is great. I actually didn't know that they had this kind of information on here. So thank you, Prez, for pointing that out. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
No worries.
Yeah, guys, that's a great point, Sean. Like one of the things in this space and in investing, the trend is your friend. And so, you know, what do the trends look like? And they could be downtrends, could be uptrends, it could be sideways trends. But generally speaking, the trend is your friend. And all those sayings like time in the market is more important than timing the market. And so if you utilize all those, you know, those little tools, generally speaking, you'll come out, you know, you'll come out ahead. I had posted something about this and somebody had responded to somebody else. They're like, oh, you're going to lose money. And I thought, man, that is 100% somebody who does not do their own research and does not do their own due diligence. Because I can guarantee you that 1,000,000,000,000%, I am not going to lose money. I'm going to do well and be ahead. Now, I'm not the guy like, you know, like I don't have a legendary. I really, really, really want a legendary because I think this is going to do well. But like I have to be smart about it. Like, you know, you look at the price of the legendary right now, 250, and you look at the numbers. Can a common get me 250? Because you want to look at the floor, and then you look at the legendary. What do you think the high of that is? And I'm not going to say what I think is because I don't want people to, you know, to base it on my individual thoughts. But the other thing that we haven't talked about is you also, because when you start looking at the epic and the legendary, there is going to be a dip when this thing is done. So the comics that you have to get into the other comics are going to dip. So the legendary of the legendary, you have to think, what will that dip to? And so you're like, is it worth buying into a legendary now to potentially get a bigger legendary later? And then what is that first legendary going to be after it's said and done based on the total numbers? And so you have to think beyond just, you know, you got the FOMO folks, which I get, like I FOMO too, but you also have to think like stages ahead. You have to think like, what is this going to? And you know, now
it's such a complex drop as well.
it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing too. You can anticipate after the utility is finished for the comic, you'll probably see about a 50% dip. So
More,
if you bought
probably
more, yeah, I'm being very generous with that.
Yeah.
Modest. Thank you. Modest, not generous, modest. Thank you. You'll probably see a 70% dip. That's very accurate for these comics. So, you know, having a chance to flip them for the utility, you just got to be careful. Because you got to remember that snapshot date. You got to sell it before the snapshot date to have an opportunity there. Because when the snapshot happens, that's it. So and I would probably, you know, I personally probably won't sell my original comic until drop day, because I know like, okay, after I mint the comics, then it's done. But it's okay. You know, if you don't want to own these comics, the Flash is the fastest man alive #1 long term, you can always sell it at a loss. But if you're in the green already, flipping other comics, it's okay. It's okay to sell at a loss if you don't want to own this long term. So that's not a bad decision either. So let's get physical. Let's get digital. That's awesome. Let's get digital. Do you think we'll be able to physically pair DC3 books with motion and dimensionally in AR, where we would feel like you could hold them, like what was supposed to be the case with the fandoms? Interesting. So basically, a way to interact with your physical comics in AR. I think that's what he's trying to ask. What are your guys' thoughts on this? What are your thoughts, Jason?
Yeah, I think we talked about this in the past on something else when we talked about the Apple AR spatial computers. So if you're not familiar with haptic sensors, I think what will end up happening is when AR comes out and you start using these spatial computing goggles or glasses or computers, whatever you want to call them, I think that's a logical next step, because I love to play games like Fortnite and Call of Duty and Apex Legends and all that, and it's probably a terrible example, but like it would be kind of cool if I felt like a bullet, hitting me in the leg or in the back or whatever. And so what you're going to need is some type of haptic sensors in a suit. And so I think to answer your question, I think 100% it will go to that, but I think it's going to the next level. So what I think is going to happen is, yes, it's going to be cool to read the comics and all that, but I feel like you're going to be fully immersed in the comic. You'll be able to play I don't want to say play, because when you think of video games, you're like, oh, I'm Mario, I'm playing Mario. But like, I think you will be immersed to where you can be one of the characters. It could be every character. You could probably choose, or you could be in the comic and be yourself, or a new character, or experience it from the position of the heroine or the hero, or the villain. I think that if you really look at what AR has the capabilities of doing, it's going to go a million times beyond just being able to interact with these and reading these comics, etc. I think that and then the other layer on that is when you start layering AI, you're going to get a lot of help through AI in building these out. And so this stuff is going to build out a lot faster than we think, because like we're used to having to go pay human developers to build something out. Whereas now we can utilize AI and start building out these technologies using AI. So the time that these things are created is significantly less and less and less. So yes, to answer your question, I do believe that's going to happen. I do believe it's going to happen a lot faster than you think, but I think it's going to go way beyond what we're all thinking as well.
Definitely. And that's the reason too that I love these digital collectibles so much. I mean, again, it comes down to the accessibility. Owning physicals can be difficult in different parts of the world. Really difficult. I mean, I had a friend recently send me some Pokemon cards and individual Pokemon cards so I could package them up and send it to him over in England. And it's been 4 months, and he got noticed that the package, apparently there's some tariff he was supposed to pay that he was unaware of, and they didn't even give him the option to pay it. They just said, we're sending the package back. I haven't gotten that package back. That's awful. That's terrible. So you can imagine how difficult that is. And I talked to a lot of people who sell comics that have been in this space for a long time, the leaders in the space, and they are very discouraged to send comics internationally. And I know people who have deep pockets are like, if I'm going to buy a card or a comic that's $200K, $300K, I'm going to fly out there and buy it myself and bring it back personally. I'm not gonna deal with customs. Like, there's just no way. I've seen photos of like a Pokemon graded video game. It was a Pokemon Yellow, and U.S. Customs did this. I couldn't believe it. U.S. Customs smashed it. They tore the grading, the box apart, destroyed the collectible, and it was worth about $5,000. And they destroyed it, and they just threw it in a box and gave it back to the guy. There you go. It's fine. Like, that's awful, guys. That's terrible. And that's why I think these digital collectibles, I don't know if like the grails, for example, if they'll ever reach the prices of the physical grails. I don't know, but it's possible. And I think it's possible because of accessibility. And I don't look at these comics as facsimiles or reprints. It's basically their counterparts to the physicals. And it's an opportunity to invest in the original IP. Especially the way that they clarify these things. They don't clarify them as reprints or facsimiles. So I'm talking about specifically like the big grails like on VEVE or even on Palm. So, and especially with Jim Lee, what he's done, he's tried to really, really replicate the quality of the physicals down to the staples. That's a really cool sign that they believe in the same things that we're talking about right now. So I think that these things are going to catch on in a big way, and people are going to be really excited about it for that reason. Being able to buy, sell, and trade these instantly worldwide is a game changer, an absolute game changer. And a big shout out to where to go. Big shout out to Daniel. What's up, buddy? We actually had a chance to meet up recently. He was a winner of our most recent giveaway. We met up in person.
Hey.
It was super cool. Happy birthday, man. That's awesome. Happy birthday to you.
Hey.
Yeah. Super cool. Such a nice guy. Really nice guy. It was so cool meeting him and having a chance to chat with him and knowing that there's fam in the area. It's really cool. Really, really cool. So yeah, guys, this is we have about 2 or 3 weeks left of this. And the next drop's on Thursday. Thursday's a big day for comics. We have this drop, this Superman 1 drop happening, and also Incredible Hulk #1 dropping on VEVE, which is a massive grail. A massive, massive grail. So, yeah.
I wonder
Do you guys have any?
I wonder how many folks that thought VEVE was dead will be back in trying to get the Hulk. Just wondered,
That's the kind of comic where people who don't even really believe in NFTs will get involved because it doesn't really get much better than that. There's like 10 comics, top 10 all time, in my opinion, at least. And it's pretty, the consensus is pretty much the same. But, besides that comic, you have X-Men 1 that hasn't dropped yet. You have Avengers #1 that hasn't dropped yet. That's inevitable. Captain America Comics #1, which I think is probably that rivals probably the #1 spot with like Fantastic Four 1 or AF-15. But yeah, Captain America 1, my goodness, that comic, man. There's 198 too, by the way. That comic has less than 200 physical copies on the CGC census, less than 200 physical copies. That comic was produced in 1941 during World War II. And that 98, it's never sold publicly. And the person who owns it, I doubt he needs the money. He's probably just holding on to that. And we may never see that sale within our lifetime. But if it did sell, even in a downtrend market, you're going to have people with deep pockets FOMOing into that comic for sure because of the opportunity, because they know it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I would not be surprised if that comic exceeded $20 million whenever it does sell, starting today, moving forward. It's only going to get bigger, and especially when you look at cross markets. And I like looking at cross markets. Some people believe in it, some people don't. But I think when you see, like, for example, in grails for sports cards or for other collectibles in other markets that are graded, especially, I think it's a good cross reference. We saw like the Mickey Mantle. I keep referencing the Mickey Mantle card because, to my knowledge, it's one of the highest, most, I would say, collectively believed collectible to hit $30+ million in its highest grade. So there's 3 10 graded Mickey Mantle 1952 Topps rookie cards. There's 3 graded by PSA. There's 3 10s, and many people believe that thing could hit up to $50 million. And if that sale did happen, my opinion, people are going to look at other markets and say, well, if that's $50 million, why is the AF-15 9.6, which is only 2 or 3 copies, why is that only $5 million? And people are going to reference that. I really do believe that. But yeah, it's going to be exciting to see these collectibles. And if the beautiful thing is, we look at these digital and physical collectibles under one market cap. It's all the same IP. It's all the same IP. So they're all connected in a real beautiful way. So yeah, very excited very bullish on the long-term potential of collectibles in general.
One of the cool things that I think that these guys are doing that's really innovative is it's very, and I think Prez was saying this earlier, you can tell that they're trying different things. They're doing some of it, maybe you call it experimental. They want to see what, is more, effective, et cetera, et cetera. But what I like is the fact that they are doing this. And I think what is going to be, what I would like to see, because I really like the pack that they did, that little pack drop where you got the 3 comics in a pack. I like that. And I also look at some of these other, so for instance, you have these baseball cards that have 101, like everybody wanted the LeBron 101, the triple logo mans. You've got like Lord of the Rings that you mentioned earlier. They're doing a 101 drop. It would be really cool to see a future iteration of this where they put in like maybe a 101 of something. So imagine having what would the difference be if you dropped the Flash and you had the ability to get a 101 in one of these packs or one of these groups of comics, like a 101 Wonder Woman, a 101, Superman #1, etc. I don't know what that would be, but I feel like that is a team who would be open to trying and doing different things. Like on VEVE, you've got the 101 artwork. Man, people love that stuff. I don't have the liquidity to buy into that. Would I love to have one? Absolutely. Those are so awesome. And I think that that these guys implement something like that as well to enhance the utility.
Yeah, and those are all so cool. And again, kind of comes down to the comic itself, the significance of the comic, the artwork. I think really the artwork's amazing, and especially that's been dropping on VEVE. But again, it goes down to like, when 500, 1,000, 2,000 one of ones are dropped, which ones are going to stand the test of time. I think the ones that are tied to the biggest, most significant comics. Those are. It's really just like the comics itself on VEVE or on Palm. Which ones are actually popular, more relevant, and have big upside, but also a safe floor. That's what you got to think about, right? What's a great level of entry with big upside, but a safe floor. And that's why I keep going back to showcase number 4, because of the value there. I mean, you cross-reference over on VEVE and you see like Edge of Spider-Verse number 2, which is one of my favorite modern age comics. I love that comic, but it was sitting around like $400 for a secret rare of that comic, which is great because the counterpart for that is a physical. That's very rare, and it's like a $5,000 to $10,000 comic, that variant specifically. But yeah, I mean, I think it's incredible value there, especially considering the total editions of Showcase number 4. The physical condition, there's only like I think 500 that are on the CGC census, around there, 500, that's a scarce number. It's a scarce number for a comic like that.
Jason, I just wanted to touch back on what you said about flipping into a Batcowl. Just want to ask your opinion on that. Why would you want to do that? I mean, I know the answer, but I want to hear your opinion.
Obviously,
now get to the Batcowls.
You have like
that was my entry.
Own all of them.
Well, that was my entry for it. Dudes, yeah.
So any project that I'm in, I really do a lot of due diligence. I'm also a big advocate of high IP, and also companies that have been around a long time. So you look at the history of what these organizations have done, and you're not an organization that stays the same over 20 years, 50 years, 100 years. You're constantly adapting and modernizing and changing. And I guess my point is that there is, when it comes to the Batcowls, there's a popularity that we have. It's not even close to being reached. The universe, it keeps expanding from that perspective. We're also in a new technology. So whatever, I don't get offended by calling things NFTs. I don't get into the nitty gritty of whether you think it's an NFT or not an NFT. I could care less. All I care about is at the end of the day, there are companies that are building on top of new technologies, and those companies have the when you evaluate them, which companies have the ability to make this stick and accelerate that growth over time. And if you look at this brand and you can't wrap your mind around it, it's probably, I don't have to sell you on it because I don't care what you do. I'm already sold on it's what I'm doing. But then you look specifically at the Batcowl and you think, okay, how many people are going to have an opportunity to own these Batcowls? And a year from now, when you have 98% of them, the rest of us get to share the 2% that's out there. But like, it's smart for me to look at all of those indicators and think, okay, at the end of the day, like, what has the opportunity to really accelerate in, value? And I don't mean like necessarily like, is a Batcowl going to be $100,000? That is actually not out of the question. If they do the things that I think they could do, Batcowls could go through the roof price wise. And you can look at, like, I know Sean's pulling these up because we've talked about this, but when you look at other NFT type products, etc., you're like, why are those things selling for that high? And what is the utility wrapped around it? And then you look at the Batcowls and you think, like, look at all of the projects that you're in. And I'm in a lot of cryptos. I'm in a lot of NFT projects, a lot. And so you look at like the Batcowl, man, the Batcowls have continued to like just keep delivering. And they're not even,
done.
They're not.
Yeah.
It's not even that they're not
Yeah.
even done. They're just barely touching it. They could.
Yeah.
The
They could
president of DC is fully on board for this project. He's been involved since the very beginning. I kind of
Wearing a
looked
bat
at this as
cowl.
like a
Yeah, for
yeah,
over a
yeah.
year.
He on his Twitter account, he has a Batcowl in his image. I mean, he's all in on this opportunity. You know, to give back to the fans, to give a lot of opportunities they couldn't do with physicals. You know, and you look at the market caps alone, market cap. So like Bored Ape Yacht Club as of April of 2023, CryptoPunks has a 1.15 billion dollar market cap. Bored Ape has a 1.12 billion dollar market cap, and Batcowls only has a 5.85 million dollar market cap. So if it hit a $10,000 floor, it'd be around $100 million market cap, which is one tenth of the other. Yeah.
My spiel is this. Let me just get what I have in my notes is, um, 11,544 is combating saturation. I wanna concentrate my efforts on, um, okay, obviously you put your eggs in all different baskets, but for me, this is good. I can focus. Each cow is a one of one. Mr. Ward already hinted on physical equivalents of these. So imagine getting it printed out and sent to you. That's going to be a one of one. First of its kind fan access token that's metaverse ready. That's going to be true to Web3 with self custody. Um, and then the second step is interoperability. We've seen traces of these interoperability, like traces of royalty in the Palm network. A friend of mine has spotted it. They're testing it. It's trait rich. It all comes from DC Comics. It could still unlock future collections such as utility belts, bat suits, and bat shoes. The customizable and generative aspect of it is just unreal. I'm enjoying the journey. With the $300 that you could have minted or the $500 you pick it up from the floor, the amount of value they've given you, tickets, drinks to Park Row, it's more than paid for itself. Um, Now, if you go deep into the traits, you can see like different special ability cows for like the force field in the top left. I have like camo cows and stuff like that. We don't know if like having the Riddler would then, and like I hope at some point we'll be like, hey, heads up, Riddler holder, there's a comic coming up here, and then that would send a tingle to that person who just owns that. It's just so easy. Or maybe like a common material. Let's take a common material like a Robin Red common material. Okay, we've got like we're thinking of mapping these comic drops up as a Robin fan. That's amazing. And I don't think this 11,544 um is gonna be for the masses. I don't think so. Actually, I think we're so goddamn early. They're hinting of other collections like Superman. I don't know whatever else. Maybe, um, but they'll never do Batcowls again. So, 'cause if you're here, you can reach this 500. As Jason was saying, even if you don't have money, you could flip up. From a comic, from a $10 comic, you can flip your way up to a Batcowl. The most obvious for me. There's cowl attachments, and yeah, I've said everything I needed to say, but I just wanted to point out the obvious play, and it doesn't tie to people. Like, I know there's been a lot of thing back and forth between VV and obviously Batcowls. When you say like individuals, I wouldn't say it's the whole community, but I would say just look at it from like a third person perspective. Like, you're here, you're making these decisions, and just look at where it is. Jim Lee has come to the Discord twice, like more than twice, to actually just for this particular drop. Like, like they're looking at this. They're that where his playthings? Like we're the experiments for now because we're that early. But you're missing the the obvious thing that's in front of you. That it's just such a historic thing, And sorry, thank you for giving me the 5 minutes. I've been bursting out.
That was no, that
I
was
was
a great
I
list
was
you broke
bursting
down.
out
Yeah.
for the first hour. I was been bursting out of here, but yeah, that's why the concentrated
Yeah.
effort for me. That was it. I love to focus, and to me, this is my end game. So if I'm wrong, then fine. Well, I'd love to see Marvel come out with an Iron Man one. Um, I'd love to see like different like across the Spider Verse, different like because I'm actually surprised they haven't done so already. Because the opportunity is there. Um, But yeah, DC, man, like what a ride. And they've
Yeah, and
incorporated it. They've
I don't think you're
incorporated it to the
wrong.
comics too. Like crazy.
Yeah, I
Right?
don't think you're wrong, and that was all extremely well said. I think that the upside is massive and significant. I think that anybody who's in the space will look back 2-3 years from now and go, "Holy, wow! Like, why didn't we buy more?" And there's going to be a lot of people that don't. You're right. Look at all the stuff that we've gotten already. But like the one thing that I always kind of go back to is, especially when you have a lot of people debating, anyone who tells you like something can't, something won't, something's not going to, man, the argument is done. Because the reality of it is, any of this stuff, I don't care if it's VEVE or Broadside or DCNFTs or Nike, or they can do whatever the hell they want to. And in the future, they're going to be able to do all kinds of crazy stuff. What happens if DC, and I've thought about this, what happens if DC says, all right, we're implementing our own crypto, and you know what, we're going to drop $100,000 worth of, DC tokens to, crypto holders. They could do that and not tell you, and then all of a sudden people are like, oh shit, we should have bought a Batcowl. Same like, I mean, anything
Jason,
can happen.
Jason, the last thing I would say is, if you're wondering, in my opinion, and concentrated effort has you've seen the effects of it in the Superman 1 community, right? The whales have paid attention. They've I wouldn't say they drove the price up. They just bought and bought and bought. The demand is there for that, right? Now, why hasn't it happened for Batcowls? Let me give you the obvious answer, and it was given by one of those guys. There are 750 3D cows that was given to the designer of these things, and every time we see a hype surge, you will see them list near the floor. So I'm not saying they're repressing it by accident or intentionally. I'm saying you have a chance to like take your time with these things. I don't think it's gonna go whoopsie. Like no, like until. But then again, right? What if it goes to OpenSea and suddenly we hit a bull? I'm not again. These are just what if scenarios. I'm really happy. I've got the chance to stack what I've been stacking at the back because I ain't rich either. It's just that this is my concentrated effort, And if I'm wrong, then heck, I'm wrong, right? But
you're not wrong.
Hell, and
dude,
that's the play.
You're 100% not wrong, and I don't care if people are like, people can call me Moon Boy, FOMO, whatever. Like I could care less. You're definitely not wrong, and you're going to be proven over time. And that's why I'm like, okay, when you're in these projects, think about what's going to survive time, because they're, the numbers that you hear, 99% of all NFT projects are going to die. They are, and they're going to die because they don't have the IP, one, and two, there's going to be regulations in place. Well, you know what? Batcowls, both of those gone. Wipe those two arguments off the table. And you're right. Slowly go in. Like I bought two Batcowls. That's all I could put in. I bought two. So $600 was my all in. I now have like 5 Batcowls. I have I don't even know how many comics I have. I got a big chunk of money sitting in the account. I've got every trinket known to man in there. I've got doubles, multiples. I got the legendary Harley stuff. Like, so like from $600, like I'm way up. And it was what you just said, slow and steady as she goes. Like, but the reality of it is, and Sean and I talked about this in the last episode or last conversation we had, it's only been a little over a year. That's
but it feels so long. But we've
and
experienced. It's the experience.
It does feel so long. It does. It's like dog years. You know that the NFT, the Web3 space is
dog years.
Like
dog years.
So true.
But think about it. Where could I have put $600? Like not knowing. Like sure, could I have bought like a? Let's be realistic. Where could I have put $600 in, and then 1 year later have, I don't know what my account's worth, but it is worth more, way more than what I could have put it in. And we're talking about, it wasn't just a bear market. We went from an all-time high in many markets and crashed way down. It's not like it's just a bear. This is a crash.
I mean, a great example is the Superman 7.0, just sold on Golden. Last year, that exact comic sold for $2.6 million, and then it sold a year later for 1.6. So that, so that person lost $1 million on that investment. Now, does that discourage me long term for Superman 1? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I am crazy bullish on Superman 1, but it was just bad timing in the market, unfortunately, for him to sell it. So
well, the buyer though, he's loving
buyer's happy. Yeah, the buyer's happy.
He's like, how the hell did I get this for $1 million?
But there's a couple of great stories. I mean, there's great analogies for this stuff. You know, I mean, we had Darren Watts on our podcast recently. The episode's coming out soon. Big shout to Darren, and he inherited 300,000 comics from his father. And there's a really deep story behind that. But he was, his dad hoarded a bunch of comics, hoarded collectibles. And I asked Darren, I said, did your dad have an idea of the value of these things potentially long term? And he said, Sean, he had unrealistic expectations for those comics. But those numbers are far succeeded than what he even thought possible in the market right now. He couldn't even dream that these numbers would hit. And I think it's just the beginning, in my humble opinion, at least. Another example is this guy named Marshall Fogel, who has one of the best collections of sports cards in the world. And he started buying stuff because he understood the potential for this market, for the sports card market, especially the older cards like the Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig's. And he's one of the owners of the Gem Mint 10 Mickey Mantle rookie card. And he bought that in 1996. And he was at an auction and he bought it for $121,000. And people said to him, "You're out of your mind. Are you crazy? What are you doing?" That card is worth over $30 million today. He had the foresight. He understood the value. And I'm not saying that these things are going to hit those numbers, but I'm just saying there's a lot of potential, a lot of opportunity here. And it's because of the backed IP, because this is a true DC project. And they can add as much utility to the Batcowls as they want.
Yeah.
It's an
experience. It's an experience. And going into Web3, we've seen it. They want to get a pulse for, okay, what gets people going? Let's go and do that, and then let's try something new. Let's add a fresh take. And so far, man, I'm loving that journey, and I'm so glad to have you guys over here and like actually just do a whole market analysis, not even just like box yourself to one and like I love that. And yeah, definitely. I'm just over here specializing. Don't worry about me, but I am going for drops. I'll go for this one this Thursday. Well excited for it. Hopefully I get it, man, because I know that's gonna go out quick. But I know that they're trying to. I think they're gonna do the new drop style and that maybe right this Thursday, hopefully. For the Incredible Hulk, but so many opportunities. So many opportunities.
Yeah. I just want to come on some. Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Well, I was gonna ask Prez, what would you? I mean, I know that how I would want to be, and I think like everybody could probably figure that out. But when it comes to new things, when it comes to opportunities. Would you rather be the guy that stacked 25 Batcowls and loved it and loved everything about it, super hyped, spent a couple years, you had the time of your life for a couple years, and maybe it didn't come out the way you wanted to? Or would you rather be the guy that's constantly on Twitter, that's bitching about everything, that's crying about life, that's like, you spend all your time fudding and where you could be learning, and then you missed out on a Batcowl that became $1 million Batcowl because you love to like, stick it to the guy on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it's
waste your time. Like you have one life, you have one opportunity. At the end of the day, like if you love it and it gets you going every day, it gets you up, motivated, excited, like you're positive about it. That is worth more than just the money. And at the end of the day, you know what? Like, let's just say this thing goes to zero. Man, I've met so many people that are awesome in this space. Like I have every day, like I love coming on Sean's, Comics and Crypto and talking to him because it's fun, dude. We text all the time. We got a whole group of people we text. We love it. That's worth way more than money. And you know what? If it goes to zero, you know what I can do? I'll go drive a trash truck or I'll go work. You can always make more money. Like the money.
Hey, I'm quite happy to buy everything else for $1 though. Like
I'll
just buy everything else.
You can always make more money, man. If people don't see that the real value is not the flipping and making the money, then you're missing out on you're missing out on life just in general.
Yeah. I wanted to comment on this. Tough to compare Batcowls or any project to those two right now. So he's referring to Crypto Punks and Bored Ape. But I do think they're top 5 to 10 most underrated project in the entire space. Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel they're one of the most underrated for sure. I do think though you can compare because they are. I mean, for the very beginning, especially on VEVE, I was so excited about the idea of a big company, a licensed company like DC, to create an avatar project, to create a true NFT project they'll continuously add utility over time, very similar to what we see with Bored Ape. Like CryptoPunks, they have historical value. They're the first NFT project, and they're going to hold a lot of value for that reason alone. Bored Ape is really popular because you had a lot of celebrities buying into it. A lot of celebrities were buying into it, shot the value. You have Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Tom Brady, Jimmy Fallon, Justin Bieber. You had so many people buying into it, so it got a lot of recognition because of that. But let's really think about this seriously. Like, how many people really know about Bored Ape outside of Web3? Not many. Not many. I mean, I know people who kind of understand NFTs or understand certain NFTs, but they still don't even know what Bored Ape is. But they know Batman. They know DC.
Comics,
and that's the big difference. They know comics. And that's why, especially for Batcowls, people have that instant connection and understand the value for that reason. Oh, I own this and I get these things for free. Or I get to be part of an awesome community of people that are passionate about Batman and Superman and DC. In my opinion, Batcowls is a representation of the entire brand. And I've really felt for a long time that DC in general is undervalued right now. It's because the underperformed films that have been released for the past 10 years. But I am so excited for the future of James Gunn and what he's going to do with DC. I am 100% believer in him. I tweeted out about a year and a half ago, when is James Gunn, or when is DC, or when is Warner Brothers just going to pay James Gunn $1 billion to run their film department? 6 months later, they hired him to run the film department, and that was one of the most rewarding things. I celebrated that night. Because I knew the potential of where that could go. Everybody loves James Gunn. He's an incredibly talented guy, and he's connected to both Marvel and DC, which is why I think we potentially could see crossover films in the future. I mean, he's head of the film department, and then you combine that with Jim Lee, who's president of DC, who's backing the Batcowls. Guys, the potential is massive. And just the numbers alone, looking at the numbers alone, there's tremendous upside. And you can anticipate that this will only grow over time. There are celebrities, there are sports athletes that have the Batman logo tattooed on their body. You don't think they're going to want to own a Batcowl? Yes, they are. And the second that happens, they start showing that off, people are going to follow into it just like they did with Bored Ape. That's less to little known IP compared to Batcowls. So that's why I do compare it to that, to those other projects. And I think long term, they have just massive upside for that reason.
Yeah, that was a great point. I think when you look at CryptoPunks and Bored Ape, they're kind of at the top of the hill right now. They've already made it. And whereas a Batcowl is at the bottom of the hill right now, you're hoping that it becomes something like that. But why did a CryptoPunk become what it did? Why did a Bored Ape become what it did versus the thousands and thousands of others? If you actually go back to that point in time, are you going to make that same decision on CryptoPunks and Bored Apes? No, you're not, because most people did not. And a lot of people are not with Batcowls and with many other projects that have huge and high ceilings. So if you look at a project like a Bored Ape and a CryptoPunk and you say, okay, does a project like Batcowls have the opportunity? The reality of it is they have the opportunity to blow past both of those. And it's because of history and IP. And you're right. I don't know any pseudo famous person that owns a Batcowl. I mean, I guess I should take that back. I'm sure.
At least they're not open about it. They're not publicly public about it, at least.
Can you imagine if Eminem came out and said, "Oh man, look at these I just bought a Batcowl."
Who's a huge? By the way, he's a huge comic collector. He's a massive comic collector, so it's very possible he'd be into it in the future.
It literally only would take one big celebrity to be like, "I just bought a Batcowl," and then the floors, because those guys, they have so much money, $500. The floors go from 500 to 1,000 with nothing, and that's the other thing.
Crypto pay in and out, which is actually already confirmed. So the priorities are, okay, crypto cash out, but then it's almost like Okay, let's weed them out. Like, who wants to cash out? Go, let's go. And then I think fiat cash out, because obviously that's like, the original functionality. And then what? Crypto pay in. All right, maybe it's not gonna make a difference right now, but yeah, that just takes one guy to go, 50 ETH, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, okay, can
I'm,
you slow down, please? Come to me. Let's talk some strategy, right? Let's not just like wipe the floor. Let's give us a chance. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And actually, for me, crypto in and out is much more. I prefer that much more because of tax implications. You're going in and out with crypto. Well, we won't get into tax stuff, but for me, because of taxes, I prefer tax in and outs than an off ramp into fiat and out. That's more important, and I understand that the on and off ramps in fiat are going to help with mass adoption a lot more. But like so we didn't talk about this at all until you just mentioned it. But the crypto often on and off ramps with Batcowls, I don't know what's going to happen, because you don't know, because of the closed ecosystem.
So
You don't know how much of an upside that's going to provide, because people are going to be like, crypto on and off. They may think like I do, crypto on and off. I'll go anywhere with crypto on and off.
So with VEVE, right? What I love about VEVE is it's onboarded people so easily, right? So easily, like, and we're talking about the DCNFT website, which is, let's face it, like, it's been a struggle, right? But today or Monday, they've released that collection filter. People are suddenly seeing Batcowls they've not seen in a while, like, scrolling down. So shout out to the team finally implementing that. Thank you very much. Um, but what's next? What's next is, well, yeah, we want to see the interoperability. We want to see these payouts come out one step at a time. And the utilities they've just come out with, it's just amazing. So,
Yeah.
and they made it tied to like early access as well. Not and the funny thing is, I don't even think the SEC could chase them, because they call them as tokens. They're just fan tokens. It's the market that dictates the price. They don't try and do anything. Like, they give you early access. Okay, to us that means mints and money, right? Potentially, if we could get in like this mint zero, whatever. But to them, it's like, well, no, it's early access. We've proven at this drop, in this flash drop, you don't have to have a bad cow to get. This is just early access. But everyone has access to this drop. It's one of these things, like, it changes so fast. You look away one week and you're like, huh? I don't have access to it with my bad cows, like, but because we're watching it like a hawk, and even that's not enough sometimes, right? Like, sometimes details slip on us, and there are so many plays right now in the market. But this is my end game still, and it hasn't changed, and I'm thankful that they haven't. I don't know. Please don't do a Batcal V2 or anything like that. Preserve it. Do a Superman collection. I don't know. Do something else, right? But maybe give me a bat suit, right? But then let's keep it here.
I personally, I would like to see them just focus on Batcowls. I think they should drop out the collectibles that can complement the Batcowls. But I think it's important. I think it'd be important to have one NFT project to focus on, and just add as much utility to that project as you can. And it can still be connected. This should be, like I said, this should be the representation of the entire DC brand. I think that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and when you're done, people are gonna realize, like, oh, those guys have what? A utility belt, they have bat shoes, bat suits, what the heck? Everything. And they printed it out. They're wearing it in the convention. Like, okay, and maybe when we've 10x the user base, maybe do something for them. But you're right, Sean. For now, let's see some more for Batcowls. Palm, love you guys. DC, you're listening. This is it. This is it. Jason and Sean. Don't even take it from this moon boy. Like, take it from these guys. Take it from these guys.
I think the upside is just so, man. And I love, Jason, when you say there is no sky, like there's no ceiling, potentially for this thing, especially considering what they could potentially add to this over time. But yeah, I just hope they don't spread themselves too thin on other projects. It could discourage people. Like, what should I buy? What should I get involved in? You're separating the markets a little too much. So that's just my humble opinion. I don't know, what they have planned behind the curtains, but I think Batcowls should be the foundation of the DC brand. And I really hope to see that moving forward for at least, few more years.
Sean,
I'm very, because I'm, yeah.
So go ahead. No, I was gonna say we haven't even begun yet. AC1, Batman 1, right?
Mhm.
And all these
Yeah,
DC27. And actually, guys, take your
yeah,
time for that. Maybe release it in 4 years, 3 years. I don't care, because obviously we want to lead up to those things. We don't just want it all now, you know? Sorry, go
yeah.
ahead, Sean.
No, definitely. No, I completely agree. Yeah. So thanks so much for coming on today, guys. This was such a fun conversation, and I definitely want to continue this specific conversation on another stream very soon.
Mm.
Definitely in July.
Cool.
So I'm actually heading out of town for a couple of weeks. I'm going up to Red Rocks in Colorado. To have you guys heard of Red Rocks?
Oh, of
The
course.
Yeah. So anybody from Colorado out there, make sure to shoot us a DM. We're gonna be out in Denver for a few days. So yeah.
Awesome.
But anyways, guys, thanks so much for coming on today. That was so much fun, and I'm very excited for the next one. Make sure to give them a follow, UpUp Crypto and Prez. Give them a follow on Twitter. And again, guys, thanks so much for your time, and thank you everybody for joining us today. This is a lot
Thank you
of
so
fun.
much, guys.
Yeah,
And best of luck on the drops, guys. I
Good
really
luck.
hope this really helps
Don't
your
sleep
strategy
on the
moving
drop.
forward.
Don't sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some serious
Actually-
potential.
Actually, sleep on this one. Let's be done with this.
Yeah, I'll be done.
No more need to be sold. But the next one, you can have that chance.
And before we end, actually, I want to make sure everyone out there knows boom. This giveaway ends today, and you have a chance to win a Gem Mint 10 perfect condition Infinity Gauntlet Marvel card. Big shout out to our collaborator on the giveaway, Metaverse Life. Love him, fantastic human being. And also keep an eye out for this giveaway. We're going to be announcing this one likely tomorrow. So very cool card, and I'm very excited to give this to a lucky winner. Thanks again for joining, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.